In Kain's own iron skin, we clad ourselves for war, while fire burns hot within. Another storm of memories, more pain, more death. Corlandril tried to fix upon something he knew to be his own life. He ran fingers through Aurielle's sapphire hair, kissing her neck, her sharp cheeks illuminated by the firelight. No, that was not his memory. He had never done that. He had never seen Aurielle. He tried again, but the mantra continued to spill from him, and he was swept away on another tide of false recollections. The iron blood of Kain, from which we draw our strength, grows greater within us. The iron blood of Kain, from which we draw strength, grows greater within us. Battle comes upon us. We bear its dark burden upon our broad shoulders. Battle comes upon us. We bear its dark burden upon our broad shoulders. Smaller and smaller, vanishing to a single point, Corlandril's individuality was engulfed by the tide of personalities from the Spirit Stones. He drowned in darkness, flailing to retain some sense of self against the torrent heaping upon his frail mind. Come to stand before Kain, unyielding in our fate, free from all doubt and fear. Come to stand before Kain, unyielding in our fate, free from all doubt and fear. The dead numbered in their tens of thousands, countless lives extinguished at the hands of those who had worn this armor. Creatures of all races, some warriors, many not, victims of Kain's bloody murders. Corlandril waited within the last vestiges of his grief, giving his last compassion for those that had been killed, saving none for those to come. We do not flee from death. We stride in Kain's shadow, proudly and with no fear. We do not flee from death. We stride in Kain's shadow, proudly and with no fear. We strike from the darkness as the swift scorpion, with a most deadly touch. See not with eyes alone, but allow rage to flow. Let Kain's gift comfort you. Corlandril was all but gone, a swirl of motes in a greater consciousness. Corlandril was a striking scorpion of Craftworld Alatok. A revered disciple of the path of the artist for many years, this companion of the path of the warrior veteran, Firiana, attempted to gain her affections as a life companion during her own path of the dreaming. Tensions rising with the return of their mutual friend, Aradryan, following his conclusion of the path of the steersman. As this wayfarer sought to also gain the favor of Firiana, their paths would diverge. As Aradryan followed the path of the outcast, Corlandril began his journey as an aspect warrior of the Striking Scorpion's creed. Donning his war mask for the first time in his life, setting aside his self-indulgent talents as a dreamer, awakener, and artist. Seeking out the Shrine of Deadly Shadows, led by the mysterious Exarch, Kanaineth, Corlandril, alongside his comrades in arms, Arhulesh, Behareth, Mithrain, and Elisanadrin, began his mastery of the teachings of Ara. Training only a single pupil at a time, as the shrine teetered on the precipice of disbanding, Exarch Kanaineth's methods would bear stark contrast to the Exarch of the Fall of Deadly Rain Shrine, Aranara. Deployed to the Exodite world of Aelin Iliash as his first mission alongside members of the Dire Avengers, Dark Reapers, Fire Dragons, Shining Spears, and Howling Banshees. Their combat against the Orc menace stirred the wrath of Calamentia Kain within his soul. Venturing into the settlement of Hirith Reslain, beset by the rampage of the Orcs warlord, Corlandril faced the creature in combat, incurring a wound before being saved by his kinsman. Corlandril's wounds treated by the disciple of Isha's healing arts, Soareth, Exarch Aranara offered the novice Scorpion a chance to join his own shrine, his tenure as a former disciple of Kanaineth causing friction between their ranks. Though Corlandril would refuse the Exarch's offer, his comrade, Arhulash, defected to the Fall of Deadly Rain. The Deadly Shadows now under strength as a squad, requiring an honor duel to settle the breach of honor. Kanaineth demanding that Corlandril fight as his chosen scion. So sure was the Exarch of his teachings that the most novice of his men would best his former protege's skill, now diluted by the teachings of Aranara. Besting Arhulash in single combat at a score of 8-3, Corlandril, though victorious, came close to being consumed by the rage of Kain. calming from his restraint by his peers before apologizing to Ahalash and allowing him to rejoin the Shrine of Deadly Shadows. Now at full strength once more, the striking scorpions of Kananev redeployed to a human world by order of Autarch Ahafane. This veteran of the Howling Banshees, Dark Reapers and Dire Avengers, having overseen grand campaigns such as the Battle of Whispers and 1001 Storms. Calling upon the striking scorpions to aid in his venture in denying the humans an artifact of She-Who Firsts, Farseer Kelemeth foresaw that without Alatok's intervention, Slaanesh would bring doom to this nameless planet and corrupt all generations to come. Purging the humans who defended the artifact, Kor Landrel felt the lure of the mysterious object. The haze of its call cut through by Kelemeth, as the Farseer secured the object to be confined within a Wraithbone casket. Retrieving their fallen comrades sundered by the human defenders before withdrawing into the webway, as the Alatoki gave their respects to those passing through the Gate of Farewells, Kor Landrel became restless. Hungering for battle and alienating his kinsmen by his eroding decorum, Kananev cast his pupil from the Shrine of Deadly Shadows, claiming his path of the warrior to be ended. Advising Kor Landrel that he must seek out his own shrine to lead as its exarch, Kananev's former pupil ventured across Alatok, the draw of some unknown presence within the Shrine of Hidden Death, calling to him. His arrival causing a ziggurat to rise from the sands of the Desert Dome. Within its depths, an ornate suit of striking scorpion armor set with 7 spirit stones lay, Kor Landrel recognizing the armor as his own. The 7 souls within its embrace subsuming the majority of his own identity, Kor Landrel merged with the beings regarding themselves as Morlaniath, as he recounted every death made by their hands. Claiming the chainsword, Thief of Dissonance, and proclaiming himself the exarch of the Shrine of Hidden Death. Within Morlaniath, the souls of Idrisael the Dreamer, Lechamemnon the Doomed, Ephruin the Dark Joker, Elid Neriel the Weeping One, Neruid the Forgiver, and Ulfaranesh the Child of Ulfway instantly galvanized Kor Landrel's form. Freeing the artist from guilt and remorse, the Gestalt incorporated his talents into their own, the being known of Morlaniath accepting students to train within its shrine, as Firiana brought a grave warning to their doorstep. Kor Landrel's friend, now well upon her own journey through the path of the seer. Her divinations brought word of a great doom to Alatok, that all others of her creed had dismissed due to her short tenure. Seeing nothing of her former companion within Morlaniath, Firiana grieved for the loss of what she had once cherished. Her parting warning, regardless motivating what remained of Kor Landrel, to seek out Autarch Arathian. The remnant of Elid Neriel, calling in a favor owed from her prior life, the Autarch prepared Alatok for the impending threat of the Imperium, which would attempt to destroy their craft world. The avatar of Cain within the midst of Alatok, stirring as the call of war hastened. The exarch of the Shining Spear Shrine of Midnight Lightning, Liderira, assumed the role of the young king as the eldest of each aspect warrior creed carved their sigils into her flesh. Entering the throne room of the avatar, holding the Suindele in one hand, the cup of Creel in the other, and the mark of Cain dripping blood from her forehead. As the doors of Cain closed, the ritual to revive the avatar began. Exarch Kananev, too weary of age to lead his Shrine of Deadly Shadows, the mentor of Calandril, entrusted his men to Morlaniath's command. His duty to train a worthy host for his long-dormant comrade in arms, a secret which he and Aranhara had kept since interring him within the Shrine of Hidden Death. Leading the striking scorpions of Alatok to war, the Phoenix Lords Malgan Ra, Baharoth, and Karandras joined the fray, the awakening of Cain during the time of Alatok's peril, drawing them like moths to a flame. The Hidden Death deploying to the Tower of Ascending Dreams via Wave Serpent, alongside elements of the Swooping Hawks, Howling Banshees, and Guardians of Alatok, the striking scorpions repelled the first wave of Imperial aggressors. Redeploying to the Plaza of Aletheia to reinforce the Maidens of Fate. Regardless of the valor of Alatok's defenders, the advance of the humans could not be denied, as heavy armor and space marines began to board the craft world. Meeting with Phoenix Lord Karandras within the dome of Midnight Forests, the master of the striking scorpions commended Morlaniath's efforts, conscripting him to serve as a member of his honor guard as the avatar of Cain marched to confront the humans. Confronting the White Scars Astartes as they pushed deeper into the forests, a hulking dreadnought laid low Karandras, his injury from gut to neck, revealing not blood and viscera, but a galaxy within his panoply. Reaching for the motes of light within Karandras' shell, Morlaniath witnessed the Phoenix Lord's earliest memories, meeting with the first scorpion, Ara, before being absorbed into his form. The rend in his panoply repairing as Karandras looked upon the lifeless form of Morlaniath. The sacrifice of the hidden death allowed the Shadowhunter to fight on alone. Each soul which incorporated Morlaniath's form now lost with their integration with Karandras. The sacrifice of Gorlandril regardless sustained Craftwelder Latok in its hour of need, ensuring its survival.